Got it.
Looks like we are live. I'll just confirm. Okay, looks like we are live and streaming, and I'm going to turn this down. Hi everyone, I am Dr. Saunders. I am one of the owners of Dynamic Music Studios, and I'm here with one of my other, I don't know why I'm saying here because you're not here with me, but I'm here with one of my co-owners, Christina Gentzsch, the cello instructor, and co-owner, like I said. We are going to be meeting with all the owners throughout the next month or so because we haven't done any of these one-on-one interviews for these teachers. So if you have questions or want us to just say hello, feel free to comment and we will get started. So Christina, say hi. Anything?
Hi, everyone.
Okay, so we'll kind of get started with our general interview questions. Can you tell me a little bit about your musical background and how you got started with cello?
Sure. So I am originally from Garden City, Kansas, which is way southwest. We are an hour and a half north of the Oklahoma border and about an hour and a half east of the Colorado border. It's a town, 35,000-ish. And it's, kind of one of the bigger cities within like a 4-hour radius. If you want any place much bigger than that, you would go to like Denver or Wichita or something, or Kansas City, Topeka. So small community, but we were really lucky to have an orchestra program in that small enough of a community. It was a pretty strong orchestra program as well. And that's how I got into playing the cello. I was always kind of like a musical kind of diva child a little bit. I was like shy, but also a diva. I remember like in kindergarten, like career day, I had like this little dress with leopard print on it. And I was gonna be a movie star when I grew up. My mom had the pearls. So, I wanted to do some kind of, I was into performing in some aspect. And then my grandmother, Virginia, who my studio is named after, she, had a piano in her home, and whenever we would go visit, I would just always just like plunk around and like make up my own songs. And after one time, like my mom came to pick us up and she was like, she's getting piano lessons because she needs to be able to play real music. As the stuff she's making up, she's 8. So
that's okay. Yeah.
So we got me into piano lessons, and I took piano lessons all through high school. And then my brother actually joined orchestra before I did. He was 2 years ahead of me in school, and he played the string bass. And so when it came time, like we started orchestra in 5th grade, we tried out all the instruments, and I was like, well, I could be like my big brother and play the bass. I don't know if I want to do that. I definitely know I didn't want to play the violin. So it was kind of like, maybe let's not do what big brother does. And so it's kind of like between viola and cello. I also thought the bass, like they plucked the strings too much and I would get like blisters on my fingers, but then like I didn't pluck enough. So like cello was like the happy medium. So it's a process of elimination. And then I did orchestra and loved my orchestra teacher at the time. Her name was Mrs. Fowler, and she was great. And she was my teacher 5th grade through 8th grade. And then after my 8th grade year, she retired. And I just we were all like kind of like sad when she left, but she taught both me and my brother. And then when she retired, the other orchestra teacher in town also like got another position somewhere. And so all of a sudden we had 0 orchestra teachers in the community, and we almost lost the program.
Oh no. Okay.
We made a big enough stink about it. Like we went to whatever the next school district meeting, and like it was a big deal. We made the local news because we were so upset about it. And we got an interim teacher, and then my sophomore year in high school, we finally got the high school teacher who's still there now. Her name is Summer Miller. She we were so lucky. She met a farmer in the area and married him, and now she can never leave, which is great. Very, very good at her job. So and I'm still friends with her today. Like whenever I go home, like I see if I can work with her orchestra, and it's really great. It's a good relationship to have. And then, when we almost lost the orchestra program, that's when I realized like, oh, music, I need this. This is probably what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. So before I wanted to do like something with animals, like I thought I was going to be a vet, but then, my brother was like, do you know the things you have to do as a vet? And like, insert gross stories here. And I'm like, whoa. Uh, so
That's
then,
a lot of schooling.
exactly. So I was like, well, what if I could become an animal chiropractor? Because then you're essentially like getting paid to pet someone else's animals and make them feel good. So that was my career that I wanted to do until high school. And so big change. And so then I did a year at the community college in town, and then I ended up going to Washburn University in Topeka, Kansas, and got my bachelor's degree in cello performance. And then one of my best friends there went to Iowa and was getting her master's degree in composition, and said, hey, we've got this great instructor here, you should come and take a lesson with him, see what you like or see what you think. And I went and had a lesson with Tony. I think I went to Cello Days that year, which they just had this past weekend. And I was like, this is a great community. Tony's super nice. I feel like I can learn a lot here. So ended up coming here, doing my master's, and then met my husband while I was doing my master's, and we stayed here ever since.
Awesome. Okay. Well, awesome. So that's great though. So you knew pretty early on. It seems like a lot of us like knew pretty young that this is kind of what we wanted to do. So you kind of already talked about your schooling and that you kind of knew pretty early on, other than maybe being an animal doctor, that you wanted to do music. So that's great. So now moving into your teaching, how long have you been teaching?
Yeah, so I started, my very first student was the year that I was at the community college in Garden City. And she was, gosh, how old was she? Like 13, I think. And she was homeschooled, and the parents just said, can you just come, help her out? And I said, sure. And you're going to fall over what I tell you. I went to her house, taught her a 30-minute lesson, and got paid $5.
Oh my gosh. $5.
$5.
That didn't even cover your gas.
I mean, it's small town, so like I think the professional musicians, I do, that's fine. But the other musicians in town, like it was like $10 for a half-hour lesson, and someone was like, well, you guys aren't professionals, you're still students, so you need to keep that in mind. Don't overcharge. And I'm like, all right, I guess just $5.
Oh my goodness. You can't even work at McDonald's for that. You make that more than that at McDonald's.
Yeah, I started at the bottom of
Too funny.
and yeah, then when I went to Washburn, I had as most of us do, taught private lessons through college. I think then I went up to like in that area, I was doing a monthly tuition of like I think $55 for the month or something. And then as they came to Iowa, different demographic, different need. And so when I
Grown
saw
from there.
exactly, and now I have my master's degree and qualifications. So it's nice to like grow and be like, I started at $5. And that's where all my hard work got me. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. I can't even remember like what I charged my first few students, but um yeah, it's cool though to and your skills that just the skill levels and the resources you have, and how how much planning, at least for me, that I would do like for those first few lessons. Like I'd have to like really plan, you know
Yeah.
lesson plan each lesson beforehand. And I was like worried, like I'm not a great pianist, so I'd have like practice my playing, and like and now I can sight read a melody line. I can uh in a first time lesson is not scary at all. So yeah, that's cool.
Mhm.
What would you say is your teaching philosophy?
My teaching philosophy is really you have to teach to the student. We don't teach to say, look, I'm this great teacher and I have this person who plays exactly like me. Like that's not why students take lessons. They
Mhm.
take lessons because there's a craft that they want to learn. They, want to, maybe progress in their orchestra, or maybe they want to do all state, or maybe it's something they've always loved. Like I have lots of adult students who, just say, it's always something I wanted to do. And I say, great, and depending on age levels, my oldest student is getting ready to turn 80.
Oh,
So,
awesome.
when they, depending on, how old they are, there's physical restrictions that are happening. Um, and, I have to figure out how their brain works and teach to how their brain works. And that's always fun too.
Mhm.
Some kids, they're very like math oriented, and if you give things, with numbers, and they're like, yes, I get this, and it just clicks. Or some, you say you need to feel it, which is something that I hate saying, just feel it. But sometimes you have to internalize it and feel it and have this idea and this color or this sparkle or something that you're looking for. And they're really adaptive to that. And some kids, they don't want to play the typical, classical twinkle twinkle. You have to adapt to how they want to learn. And that's fun for me, and it's fun for them, and it helps them grow and become humans. And when you adapt to their learning style, they feel validated and like they're humans as well, which I think helps them grow as human beings and contribute to society.
Mhm. Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Great. I love that. I think everyone that I've talked to so far has been very much about teaching to the individual and not being stuck in just one prescribed kind of
Mm-hmm.
mode. So I think that's great.
Mm-hmm.
Can you give us a little rundown of like what's the structure of your lesson? Like someone comes in that's a new student, what can they expect to happen over the course of that lesson?
Mm-hmm, sure. So they come in, and, depending on their level, we tune. Sometimes, they don't know how to tune yet. So, it's usually the beginners. And then, we look at the stuff that they've been going through. Sometimes it's just beginning songs. Sometimes it's something that's more developed, more classical, advanced literature. Sometimes we're doing scales. And before we even start, I say, okay, what did you have fun doing this week? What were your challenges this week? And you have to get both, because you don't want them to come in and be like, I'm struggling, I suck this week, this is terrible, I just didn't, that's not, what we focus on. And I never tell anybody that what they're doing is bad. I'm saying you're being challenged right now, and we're going to make it through this challenge. We're going to figure it out.
Mhm.
And if it's nice to get their perspective of what they think is good and what they think is not what should be happening. So we have that discussion, and then we go through things, and every now and then you got to play through it once to get your fingers warmed up. Or I ask them if you want to do a scale to warm up before you do this. And so we get blood going through our fingers, and then we start working on it, and we have conversations about it. They play through it, and nice, it's always, what did you do well? What could be up at that par? The thing that you did well, what can also be brought up to match that?
Okay.
Mhm,
Awesome. I like
exactly.
that. Focusing on both. Yep, I ask my students that a lot too. Like, what did you like? What worked well? What could be, improved, or what could, make it even better? So I think that's great. So you already talked a little bit about like what do your students tend to work on? You said, a lot of times it might be scales or classical literature or shorter pieces, any other type of repertoire or resources you like to use?
There's a book, it's the Rick Mooney book, Position Pieces for Cello, and it's really like fantastic. So usually I'll go through, depending on their level, we'll do some essential element stuff, we'll do some Suzuki stuff, and then after book 2, I break the Suzuki pattern, and I throw in the Rick Mooney stuff, because I think it gives a more approachable progress to like shifting and getting out of these comfortable positions that we start in. And it's duet, so like they have the line for the student who's learning, and then like a little cello accompaniment, so we can play duets, and the students feel like, oh, I'm playing music, I'm not just playing these little ditties that aren't super exciting. So that one I really like. And then just, supplemental things, like if they say, oh, there's this pop song I really like, I say, cool, so let's, in order to play this well and how you want to, we need to learn this technique. So let's learn this technique and then apply it to this pop song that you're wanting to learn, or this thing from church, or wherever they're finding it. Because it's one thing to have that inspiration to want to play something different, but if you can't do it well, it's not going to bring you that satisfaction that you're looking for.
Yeah, it's not going to sound like the piece that you want it to sound like, or, or it's going to make you upset because you just can't, you don't have the skills. So that's great.
Yeah.
Let's see. Can you tell me a little bit about what is your favorite skill then to teach?
I really enjoy teaching how to practice. It's because that is a skill. It's not just starting at the beginning of your piece and going to the end and knowing, oh, I made a mistake here, here, and here, and then you run through it again and you make the same mistakes. So then you're practicing those mistakes, and that, you're practicing a habit, but it's not the goal that we're going for, right? So it's understanding, it's okay to just work on 4 notes for 15 minutes. There's no shame in that. That is a very good skill to have, and not to play 4 notes over and over. Can we mess with the rhythm a little bit? Sometimes we even break it down to 2 notes, like this note going to this note is a challenge. You're going from here to here, or there's an extension or some kind of technique that you're going for, and it's just not happening. So how do you practice practicing? Because it's one thing to do it when I'm there in the lesson with you, but you have to have that discipline when you're at home as well. And that's
Sometimes it doesn't feel like, the students often think like if they're only doing 4 notes, like, oh, I'm not accomplishing that. But it's like, no, actually, that's like the whole point is like,
yeah,
that is the most beneficial. Yeah, because you're getting rid of that mistake or that, that
exactly.
trouble spot you're working through.
And understanding, like, this motion that we practiced, or, this shift, for these 2 notes, these 4 notes, is actually going to apply in 4 or 5 other spots that you were actually struggling with.
Yeah, so it'll carry over. Yeah. I think always that smaller is better. It can be really hard.
Exactly.
Skill to comprehend.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. What are your lesson offerings currently then for students, lengths and group opportunities?
Yeah, so I do 30-minute lessons and 60-minute lessons, just for my schedule. That works best that way. And then I do on Monday nights have an adult cello choir where we get together. Right now there's 4 of us, including myself, and we get together and we'll do just like duets, like 2 on each part, or we work on scales and doing things in rounds. And I tell you what, that is the funnest, the most fun. I don't know, grammar wise, but it's such a great experience because they're all in different places, in life, and they all have different experiences with their music. And gosh, it's been like a year and a half that they've been doing this, and like seeing where they were when they started and how they've grown as a group. When we play scales, how they listen, where they look at to each other for support. And the discussions that we have, it's past just learning notes now. Like, okay, we're learning this. Let's talk about, are we doing a bow lift here? Are we crescendoing here? Like actual chamber conversations that are happening, and how they're, in general, when they play together, their sound that they create. It's really fun to see them grow. So that's something that I really, really love. And right now we're practicing here in my studio. We can squish in there. So if we get another person or 2, then we'll move out to the big group
space.
Yeah.
Awesome. And you have a summer camp as well, yes?
I do. So I'm doing in August, the 2nd week of August, a cello boot camp, 2 different levels. One for beginners who've been playing 1 to 2 years, and it's just something to get the students back into the mindset of school is starting, orchestra is starting. It's been a couple months since I've played my instrument, so the orchestra directors, they can kind of start going full force, and it's less reminding and refreshing for them, for their students.
Awesome.
So yeah, one's for students taking 1 to 2 years of orchestra, and the other one is 3 and above.
Okay, great. And then is there like a
yeah, but I think I called it Little Llamas Music Camp. So I'm doing 2 weeks of that, and it's for students between ages 6 and 9, and it's just a generic music camp. Students will come in and we'll explore, how to listen to music, how to feel music, do basic music reading things, rhythms and, reading notes on the staff. I've got a whole bunch of games picked out. I've got some boom whackers. I invested in those. So we will have lots and lots and lots of fun.
Oh, that sounds like a fun camp. Okay, so you can find that all on our website, and we can maybe link some things below on this Zoom video. Let me see here. I was just letting my student know that I'm finishing up here. What would you say is your studio culture, and what are some, like, you kind of talked a little bit of the culture, I feel like, already, but what are some accomplishments too that you'd like to highlight?
Sure. Well, I mean, the adult cello choir for sure.
Mhm.
Those guys are fantastic. And then I very rarely have a student who doesn't stick with orchestra like until they go to college.
Oh, that's
Um,
awesome.
Yeah, exactly. I've got a lot of longevity here with my students, and some of them do all state. That's great. We work on that. It's a great experience to prepare for. And then others, they say, yeah, the people who audition for Allstate, they're really good. That's not my jam. And I'm like, cool, let's not do that. So they're still, playing at a level where they could audition for Allstate, but again, that's not an experience that they are wanting to go through. So learning how to be a musician and how to talk about music, and again, going through that more mature literature, and this is real life music that if you keep going and you play in college or you play in college orchestra, this is going to keep happening. So I feel like I really cultivated some lifelong musicians,
That's
if
great.
they're not playing but very much appreciating and supporting, which we need 100%.
Yeah, yeah, because not you don't need. I mean, you need people to come and listen to those things too, and that know that music, and you don't have to be a musician to come and enjoy it, but it's helpful, so
Exactly.
to have had a background and everything. So awesome.
Yeah.
Um, and speaking of, like, you just had a gig, so how do you kind of balance some of your gigging and your teaching?
Yeah, so a lot of planning, and the way my schedule is arranged, I don't teach past 6:30 because I know I gig fairly regularly. So that usually, if it's close enough, I don't have to cancel or reschedule anything. I can just finish my teaching day and then go to the rehearsal that I need to,
Mhm.
or the concert that I need to. Sometimes that's not always the case. I've been playing down in Atumwa a decent amount, and so that's almost 2 hours south of here. So luckily we've got our community group classes here at the studio, so that helps kind of supplement some of those lessons. The community group classes, while it's not cello specific, it's still talking about music history, music theory, rhythm stuff, note reading stuff, so it can dive deep down into some of the stuff that we don't always have time to do in our private lessons, because we're just like, learn the notes, try and do this if there's like a deadline or something coming up or a concert coming up for them. So that helps a lot. And then like the way I have my policy set up is, I'm guaranteeing X amount of lessons per a spring semester, summer, and then the fall semester. So I have those days that I have to miss for rehearsals, or if I'm sick or something, they're already accounted for within the tuition. So the students don't have to worry that they're missing anything, or they're missing out on their lessons and paying for something they're not getting, because they absolutely are. And
Yep.
consistency is very important with lessons. So I also have in my policy, if if I have to miss a consecutive amount of weeks of lessons, I will sometimes hold like group lessons or something on the weekends to help get that continuity going, so they have that consistency in their learning.
Yeah, and that's really nice. That's easy for the student and the parents too. Then you don't have to worry about, like, oh, do we have to do a makeup? Do we have to? That's like, nope, it's already covered. It's the same payment every month, but it's already all accounted for. So that's great. Makes it
Absolutely.
easy on everyone.
Mhm.
Okay, got a couple more questions. Any music related special projects you're currently working on. So any special progress that, oh my gosh, I can't say that word today. Projects that you're working on that you want to highlight or that you have recently done that you'd like to share.
Yeah, well, we have the practice-a-thon starting this month for the studio, and the mural. Gosh, I'm so excited for that. I think it's just going to be a beautiful collaboration and beautiful art. And, the actual practice-a-thon is happening right after spring break. So, the students get their week-long break, and then, all right, go full force. Students, it's going to be really awesome. Other than that, nothing too much. A couple orchestra gigs coming up, and then you and I in June, we get to collaborate again at Co-College for the piece that you commissioned in memory of your mother and your grandfather. So that's exciting.
Yeah.
I love that we get to do that more than once.
Yeah, me too. And I'm hopefully eventually we can get a recording or something. But yeah, I'm excited for that one too. So,
Yep.
and that's bye for now. I think we've shared videos on the studio page, maybe
Mhm.
before about it. I don't remember, but maybe we'll have to again next time we get together to rehearse that.
Yeah.
Okay. Finally, what are some of your hobbies outside of music?
Well, I'm super excited. Spring is coming. It's slowly but surely getting warmer. So, my husband and I were super into gardening. Like every year there's like a new planter box in the backyard or something. We just love, growing herbs and vegetables, and then, getting all the flowers and the greenery. We just love sitting out on our deck in the backyard and just like having a little fire pit and hanging out with the dog, and that's going to be so great. So the gardening is going to be fantastic. I'm not super great at it, but I do it, and it brings
You're
me.
pretty good. I feel like you do.
I've also I get crafty sometimes. So Thanksgiving, the whole family went down to or up to over to Missoula, Montana, to see my sister-in-law, and I made like themed shirts for everyone. Like, what my husband said, she's my sweet potato, and then mine said, I am. And like, someone, my in-laws, my mother and father-in-law, they had, aprons and said like bake my day, and cute like punny things. So I don't know. And I was, on Facebook or Instagram one day and going through the reels, and someone was like, if you're crafty, here's how you sell on Etsy. And so like showing how you collaborate with Printify and get all this stuff so you have shirts that are automatically sent to people. So I've recently dabbled in opening up a little Etsy store, and I have a few
Ah,
on there, but just if I'm creating these things anyway and I enjoy doing it, I might as well, like, why not have a little business off of it? Who knows?
okay, fun.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah, you're good at the crafty stuff. So, that's awesome. Well, and you have a wonderful, cute dog, Ginger, and sometimes we see him in the studio, so that's always fun.
Yes.
And I think that is all. I have to actually get to a lesson myself.
I know,
But
I should too.
if anyone has questions, feel free to put them in the comments, and Christina will for sure reply. And she has openings Monday through Thursday.
Monday through Thursday, I've got a couple spots still
Some,
open.
yeah, some limited availability. So feel free to get a hold of us if you're interested in picking up cello or want to do one of those summer opportunities, or the group class. And thanks so much for joining us. Okay, I'll go off here.